Merry Christmas to you as well.
All right. Are you ready for the next story?
Go out.
Yeah. Are you ready for the next story?
You are ready for the next story. I am. Do you want me to screen share?
What have you got for us?
I just have right now. I have the page of Fisted by Foucault. I can't bookmark his tweets because he's blocked me.
Well, I think that's for later in the discussion as we get to the reactions.
Oh, right.
For the
That's what I have.
initial intro, how do we intro this? We don't want
I
to show
can
the
I can just
footage
describe it.
on
I
this
can just
video.
describe it, and we can show the footage if you want. Basically, it was yesterday. There was a Christmas market in Germany. Now, Christmas market for all the Americans watching is every Christmas. Different European countries, they set up these little open air markets. People walk around. They buy candy canes and they dance around with the candy canes. They have a maypole. They run around the maypole, do weird, like they hit each other with. They get naked, run around in circles, hit each other with like these pine tree branches. Hit each other in the butt is what they do in Europe in the Christmas markets. And basically, there was this Christmas market in Germany, and they was doing that. People were running around naked, hitting each other with pine tree branches, and all of a sudden, a truck drove through. A truck decided to drive through, or a car decided to drive through. Yeah, a vehicle drove through, and it had hijacked a Muslim man or an Arab man who was sitting in the car, and the car decided to drive through and run over a bunch of people in the Christmas market. And that person driving the car was named Sam Hyde.
All right. Yeah. Well, the guy was a 50-year-old Saudi native, but he was living in Germany since 2006. And he was there originally as an asylum seeker. And I think they refused him asylum for a few years, but eventually he got it. And he was an ex-Muslim, despite the narratives that this was like a jihadi attack. He was an ex-Muslim, and his big issue was he wanted Germany to take more former Muslim refugees like him, specifically women from Saudi Arabia that were, fleeing the human rights oppressions of Saudi Arabia. And he worked as a doctor in Germany for years. But yeah, people found his social media, his X account, and not what anyone expected. Everyone was expecting this to be a religion of peace strikes again. Another Muslim terror attack. But it's weird. He was anti-Islam. He was very, very, very pro-Jewish and pro-Israel, to the point of like supporting Greater Israel and supporting Israel's taking everything. And he was anti-Germany because he thought he said his motive for the crime, he held the Germans collectively responsible for not taking more Saudi refugees fleeing the Islamic regime. So yeah, it's very bizarre. He worked for some kind of NGO that was involved in trying to bring these ex-Muslims to Europe. And so this surfaced after that the BBC actually profiled him in 2019. You want to play this?
Yeah. Yeah, it is wild. It's very interesting.
Okay, I'll play this video. So this is the terrorist attacker being profiled sympathetically by the BBC. The BBC featured this terror perpetrator.
That's a good Twitter account. If you're not following a Twitter account, Heath Wood's YouTube, I suggest following it.
So let's check this out, shall we? Can you hear that?
Yep.
All right, let's go back.
I'm from Saudi Arabia. I'm an activist. I created a website to help people seeking asylum, especially from Saudi Arabia and the Gulf region.
Ex-Muslim, life was threatened in Saudi Arabia. His website has helped hundreds of ex-Muslims flee the Gulf, where apostasy can be punished with a prison sentence or death.
Yeah, I use basically WhatsApp, Twitter, Telegram. If I have time, I spend totally helping Saudi asylum seekers between 10 to 16 hours a day, if I have time. The only Arab country from which I did not have an ex-Muslim seeking help until now from me is Oman. 90% of people who approach me are women between 18 and 30 years old.
So like this is the kind of joke of the asylum system. It's like you can say you're a human rights refugee if you're in a Muslim country and then you're like, oh, I'm not a Muslim anymore. And then, well, these countries will kill you if you apostatize. So then you can just go to the West and be like, hey, I'm a human rights refugee. And you'll get asylum as if you're like running away from as if your house just got blown up in a war or something. So he said himself, he's spending like 10 to 16 hours a day, like trying to flood Germany with ex-Muslims like himself. But yeah, unfortunately, there's still a lot of basically our side like ran with the jihad narrative, like religion of peace, which I think is a big mistake. Because you see all of the pro-Israel accounts pushing that as well. They were like, "This is what globalized the Intifada means." And,
Even Elon Musk is pushing.
Yeah, all of these slop accounts like Ian Wells Chung are saying now he just like faked being an ex-Muslim. Even though he has like 10 years of like posting anti-Islam stuff obsessively every day, this was all like a big conspiracy theory to hide his tracks when he eventually did a terrorist attack, which makes absolutely no sense because obviously. When these groups like ISIS, if they do a high-profile terrorist attack, the purpose is that it was from an Islamic extremist. Like that is is to strike fear and be like, hey, if you continue your war with Islam, we're gonna do this to you in all your cities. Obviously, it wouldn't make sense for him to like pretend to be anti-Islam and do it in the name of like liberalism. So it's a really retarded narrative. But like from a nationalist perspective, it's it totally blows out of the water this idea that you see these like kosher conservative slop accounts post that it's like Western values, and this was the whole narrative of the counter-jihad thing that emerged in the early 2000s, really during the war on terror, mostly from Jewish intellectuals. It's this idea of like Eurabia, that Western elites were like dupes and they were going to let in Muslims, and we'd have like Sharia law in the West. And that we were in this like civilizational struggle basically with Israel and with the Jews against the Muslims. But like part of that was always like, Tommy Robinson saying, love Muslim immigration if they like adopt Western values. He said he'd take every woman in Saudi Arabia basically to undermine Islamic rule in Saudi Arabia. But that was always the idea, is like, you get Europeans that are concerned about immigration, and then you funnel it into, be pro-Israel, be like Tommy Robinson, like be this like kosher, like Zionist, civic nationalist, say it's just about values, be like super like disrespectful to Islam and super like anti-Islam from basically liberal premises, and be like, the problem with these cultures is, they hate Jews and they're mean to women. And then basically everything gets funneled into that. But like always the other side of that was, Muslims are great. Foreigners are great as long as they come here and adopt Western values. And, then you have this totally colorblind, blank slate view of the world. But of course, this is a guy, he's a doctor. He's a high-skilled immigrant. He's working as a doctor. This is the doctors and engineers were promised. And he's a liberal. He's an atheist. He's a progressive. He totally loves Jews. He loves Israel. He wants greater Israel. He hates Hamas and he hates political Islam. And then he goes and drives his car through a Christmas market, the same as an Islamist terrorist. So it's like, clearly the issue isn't like what propositions the guy believes in abstract. Yeah. Clearly it's a racial issue. And that's like, obviously it's a terrible thing that happened. But I mean, in terms of the messaging of nationalists, it's like, here you are like served up on a plate, right? This totally blows out the civic nationalists. It's just about ideas. It's just about values. If they were Christians, they'd be great. Or if they were atheist liberals, they'd be great. Like this guy was Western values personified as people like, Konstantin Kisin or James Lindsay understand those values, which is like totally love Jews and love Israel, and then also be like an atheist progressive that hates Islam. He was all of that personified. So it's like a perfect, the messaging is there in terms of the people that are actually nationalists, that are actually just pro-remigration. Like we've had the same message all the way through, like Martin Sellner, Dries van Langenhove, all these guys. When it happened, the message was, these people shouldn't be in Europe. remigration, only way to solve it, get them out. And that's the same message now. But you see these counter-jihad people, and it was like, oh, Islam is a violent religion. Islam strikes again. The media isn't reporting that he's a Muslim. And then it comes out that he's not a Muslim. And it's like all of these alt media guys that are supposed to be so superior to the liberal media, like they all reported the facts wrong.
He's still.
And now they're just inventing conspiracies. Now they're just like, oh, well, he had a 10,000 anti-Islam tweets, but there's this wrongly translated one where it sounds like he's pro-Hamas. And actually, he was faking all of the anti-Islam stuff. But then for some reason, he had a pro-Islam tweet that gave him away. And this is all a conspiracy to hide the fact that Islam calls this. It's like, I see people that are like, they agree with this on remigration. They're like, immigration restrictions. Like I saw Lord Miles was arguing this. And it's like, he agrees. I think he's a member of the Homeland Party. So he agrees on remigration. He agrees like whether they're Christian or Muslim, they shouldn't be in Europe. But I'd see him in replies where he's like, oh, this guy was an ISIS supporter. Don't lie to me, libtard. It's like, why are you going in on that narrative? Like, it's just wrong. Like, this isn't me defending Islam, but you're just wrong. And so then you have all these people that are like, once again, the immigration restrictions that have the perfect argument here, the perfect example for everything they've been saying. It's like, let's go all in on this narrative that is obviously wrong, that anyone can go check his social media and see that it's wrong. And then like, I don't know, no one will look it up, or we'll just like get the people to just believe us because the mainstream media lies. It's just like anyone that's doing that is suspect in my opinion, because you're showing that you care more about pushing this counter-jihad Western values narrative than you do in just pushing the simple immigration restrictions narrative that is more accurate for this case, is a simpler narrative. It fits the facts better. And probably people are more willing to listen to that than this stuff about the passages in the Quran you find problematic.
Yeah, and this whole thing is
very suspect. And you look at the accounts, it's like Visegrad 24, it's like these Israeli accounts. And then there's just like stupid people on our side that are just like reposting it, thinking this is like some kind of easy propaganda win. But it's like, you're just wrong. Like, why you're not going to, it's again, this thing, like, stop trying to be clever, like, people think it's probably a Muslim attack, so let's pretend it was. It's like, why not just tell the truth and be like, this guy shouldn't have been here in the first place?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's a very easy sell where it's like, it doesn't matter. This guy's anti-Islam. At the end of the day, he spurged out. And when Arab people spurg out for whatever reason, it seems to be that they like committing, driving a car into a crowded area. For whatever reason, whether they're pro-Islam, whether they're anti-Islam, why they do that, I really can't tell you. I really can't explain. I don't really know because I'm not Arab, but that seems what the reality is. And so since that's the reality and spurging out is like a reality that happens, you really just can't have these people around. And that's a very easy, very straightforward answer. But they want to invent this like, oh, it's actually super Islam. But I think it's because it's like at the end of the day, the people running this thing and running these people are Jewish and they hate Islam. And it's kind of like they want to go from it being about, oh, well, we need to get rid of, we need like Europe to be white or whatever, or Europe needs to be for Europeans, to now like, oh, look, these people, these Islamists are crazy people. These religious extremists are crazy people. Therefore, what we're doing in Gaza and what we're doing in Lebanon, what we're doing in Syria is totally fine because we're dealing with crazy people. It's like it's like a neurotic Jewish thing. And not to say Lord Miles is Jewish. I think he's not. He's just kind of a moron, honestly. And I think that's what's kind of going on. It's like, it's a very obvious, like the only thing that's really benefits, so the only group that's really benefits is kind of Jewish people to lie about this. It's a very weird thing to do. It's kind of a weird neurotic thing to do because the truth is, very, very clear. Like you said, it's kind of served up on a silver platter. It doesn't matter if this person is pro-Islam or anti-Islam. At the end of the day, they're Arab, and Arab people, when they spurg out, they tend to, for whatever reason, drive cars into crowds of people. And, you just can't deal with people spurging out like that.
Yeah, and I guess like the remarkable thing is he was posting about doing this for months and basically saying he was going to kill loads of German people. And German police didn't do anything because, I guess they're busy like spying on AfD members and like arresting Ursula Haverback for the 50th time. But he says very clearly his motive. He says, I'm going to make the German nation pay the price of crimes committed by its government against Saudi refugees. So again, if you're nationalist, like this is a guy who is a progressive, atheist, liberal, who is doing like an act of essentially left-wing terrorism because Europe isn't taking enough refugees. Like, it's a pro-immigration terrorist act, maybe the first one we've had. And you have nationalists who are like, no, that's I'm not going to go with that narrative where we have like 10 statements from him saying he's doing this in the name of like open borders, and it totally like blows away the civic nationalist thing about these people like integrating if they become liberal.
Yeah, and this is where this is like a parallel here where you're going to have people here in like the AFD or whatever, not here, but like people in AFD, people who are more civic nationalists are like, well, we can't really tell the truth about this, because if you tell the truth about this, that's going to lock away our support. That's going to make people not want to support us because it's too extreme, blah, blah, blah. It's better to just lie and be a little more open, will be more exciting. But that's a very strong parallel to churches and why churches are failing, especially like Protestant churches and non-denominational churches, is, in an effort not to be extreme, they've welcomed women into the, clergy, and, pro-gay stuff, pro-trans stuff, LGBT stuff. And the thinking with them is like, well, the youth is they're more accepting, they're more liberal, so we need to be more liberal too. Otherwise, we're going to lose, our audience. We're going to lose the youth who go to church. But the problem is those people that do that, they actually lose everybody, because the liberal people aren't going to support them anyway, because who wants to go to church if you're not actually like a real believer? And then the people who are real believers are like, well, I don't actually want to support this because this is a libtarded, and this doesn't actually follow what's in the Bible or whatever. And that's kind of the same thing, in my opinion, of what's happening here, where it's like people are well, let's subvert it to something. We can subvert this to pro-Jewish, anti-Islam, and we'll make it a little more liberal, where it's not a racial thing. It's literally just, it's Islam. And as a result,
I don't know what the AfD response is. The only person I've really seen from Germany, he's Austrian, but from Germany, is Martin Sellner posted about this. But he's been very consistent. He's been putting out the same narrative as me, basically, which is, this guy was like a liberal atheist. It's not about integration. It's just like get these people out. We just need remigration.
Yeah, Sellner's a very quality person. Sellner's a very high value person.
Yeah, but it's like the whole like counter-jihad narrative. I mean, you look at it, it's these accounts like Visegrad 24, which, they're literally like working for Israel. It's actual Israeli accounts. It's like Ian Miles Chong, who, again, is just like kind of serving up slop and wants to have like, basically just writes all his tweets in the hope that like Elon will repost them. And Elon actually did, I think, repost a couple of them. He said that the guy was like faking being an atheist.
The atheist angle is a scam to avoid extradition. And he quote tweeted Ian Miles Chong.
Yeah, so this guy wrote like 107,000 like anti-Islam tweets as like a ruse, and then he did the terrorist attack on behalf of Islam, but didn't give credit to Islam, which like has no effect on anything. Which is, but yeah, it's like these people are desperately trying to hang on to the immigrants are fine as long as they're liberal, and it's like if it's at the point where they're just outright lying, it's like, well, there you go.
Yeah, it's done. It's done. If you start doing that, it's like once you compromise in that sense, you don't have to be like insane or extreme or as crass or rude as I might be or other people might be, but you can't really compromise on this, because this is just objectively, obviously not true what they're saying. It's obviously not some 10-dimensional chess being played by a mentally ill person. This is just a mentally ill, Arab person who eventually the mental illness took a form that, seems to be a kind of a pattern of behavior that you obviously can't really allow for.
There's a clip here as well of him. He identified as left-wing. Let's play this, because there's a leftist narrative as well. I mean, that's the kind of kosher right narrative is he was radicalized by Islam, and it's just a problem. He wasn't integrated to Western values. But then the like shitlib narrative is like, well, he had reposts on his account from like he reposted an AfD account, he reposted Geert Wilders, and so they're saying he was like I saw like a popular post saying he was like a far right neo-Nazi, because that's what neo-Nazis do, is like kill Germans for not letting in enough Saudis. That's like a typical
4D chess
terrorist attack.
Yeah, it's everybody's like.
I'm saying this as a leftist. I'm not on the right. And what I discovered as a leftist is that leftists are the worst criminals on this planet.
Yes, that was his narrative. Basically, was like he was a leftist, but he turned on the left because they were too soft on Islam. This kind of typical like Zionist narrative. Okay, it's for Gaza, that kind of thing. So he was like reposting those people like AfD Radio Genoa, Gerd Wilders, but he was only reposting them because they were anti-Islam. It wasn't like he's a...
Yeah.
Goes without saying, he wasn't like a Natsok guy. He was like pro bringing in atheist brown refugees and immigrants. And he was
a single issue voter, which is like anti-Islam, pro migration of Arabs away from Islamic countries.
Yeah, he had the worldview of like the kosher right, basically. You know.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's such a weird thing to lie about because it is so simple. It's not even like a lie that has any sort of real, it's not clever. It's not like a lie you can admire because it's clever. It's so stupid. Because the honest answer is it literally is just an Arab person who is very monomaniacal about hating Islam and kind of blaming people, blaming the German government for not letting in people who want to get away from Islam to be whatever like liberal version of an Arab he liked. He kind of looks like Talib, the guy who wrote "Fooled by Randomness." Or what's that guy? What's the Talib guy? Is that his name? Taleb. Nassim Taleb. Yeah, he kind of looks like Nassim Taleb. I would make sure that Nassim is not going to do something similar.
Yeah. So I just don't understand the contortions.
Yeah, it seems like they want to redirect it away from general, anti-immigration, anti-brown immigration.
Like with Lord Miles, he's not even a counter-jihad guy. Like he's, like I said, he's in the Homeland Party.
Yeah.
You can take a look on. You see on the right there. We're viewmogging. We've got 11,600.
Yeah, this is a Black Swan event.
Viewmogging everyone there. But yeah, he's like Lord Miles said to me. He didn't drive into he says that this guy was he literally supported ISIS, and he's posting this. So it's like you have like the immigration restrictionists are like posting fake news all over the place. So it's just straight away like discrediting like, why are you doing this?
Community notes.
I posted stuff where like this is the kind of thing he was posting. The real resistance against Israel is the one-state solution. We call on the Arabs to take to the streets and demonstrations to demand that Israel annex the West Bank and Gaza, and if you so wish, to annex Lebanon as well. So he's like a greater Israel supporter. Lord Miles is like, he didn't drive into a Christmas market full of white German Christians to own the Jews, which, I mean, what is...
This is an IQ thing. There's an IQ situation going on here, I think.
Well, he apparently thought I was arguing that he was like a based anti-Zionist that did this to attack Israel, but in my screenshot, I showed him posting a pro-Israel thing, so it's just gone over his head there. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah.
And then he says it's a cover-up. He says all of the tweets where he's saying he's doing this as collective revenge on Germans, and he's anti-Islam as a cover-up. So it's like, okay, so what's the cover-up? So it's fake that you have a guy doing a terrorist attack because he hates white people?
Do we have proof this even happened?
Is that a good narrative for nationalists to push? Like, no, him hating white people and doing this terrorist attack because he wanted more immigrants, that's a psyop. We need to invent that he was part of the Islamic State instead. I mean, I just don't get the thought process here.
Yeah. I don't think it's an ordered mind. I don't think it's kind of a syphilitic, deluded mind going on here. Going some Nietzscheanism going on in his mind. Yeah, it is crazy. It is. Like I said, I think it's an IQ thing, honestly. Like what he was arguing wasn't even related to what you were saying.
Yeah, that was
because I think people get triggered and they get drawn into these weird circles of weird people, like Fisted by Foucault. Whose name is literally about anal.
Yeah, you can share that now if you want, actually.
Yeah. I'll go to his. Let me share the screen.
To introduce it.
See if my browser. See if my where is it? Here we go. See if my face starts moving slowly. All right, here we go. There we are. So this guy is Canadian. He's about 45 years old. He pretends he's from the Balkans because he is ethnically Balkan. But he is Canadian, and he just is like a moron. He's kind of a moron. He went on Red Scare and tried to flirt with Dasha. There's some funny clips of him trying to say he wants to have sex with Dasha and her being grossed out by it, which is just kind of two gross people. But that's neither here nor there. This is like the Bappian take, the high IQ Bappian take. So it's making fun.
Isn't that funny how they always end up with the same take as like Visegrad 24 and Dr.
Yeah.
Eli David? But
Yeah,
it's like for
Visegrad is like Voice of
IQ-based,
America, but
like
it's Voice of
racist
Tel
reasons.
Aviv.
It's not because they love Jews. It's
Yeah, because they're based. Yeah, I am a Saudi man who, trust me, hates Islam. I'm a feminist and love girl power. Trust me. I left a years-long paper trail showing how much I, trust me, hate Islam. I hate Islam so much, trust me, that I just mowed down a bunch of innocent people at Christmas market like ISIS. Which is weird because it's like, once again, it's like you're being racist against Saudis, whatever. So you don't even need to do this whole, like, he actually is Islamic. There's actually no need to even talk about. If your like key point is, oh, I'm a Saudi, so obviously I'm Islamic, obviously I'm mentally ill. This whole thing is unnecessary. This whole like weird conspiracy. There's absolutely no need to even have that, because all you're saying is like I'm Arab, so therefore I'm Muslim. It's like you can just say, oh, I'm Arab. The only reason you add on this stuff here is because you're trying to redirect it to, well, it's actually the problem is Islam, and I'm based, so I'm being racist, when it's really just you're just saying it's Islam. So it's then well, we should support Jewish people because they're anti-Islam. At the end of the day, that's like the final calculation is, oh, we should support the IDF, we should support Israel, we should support base Jewish people because they can be racist and they can deal with those monsters in the Middle East that are going to destroy us if we don't let them. The people. The crazy part too is we're going to get all the. Not us, really, the Europeans. Like you guys are going to get a lot of Syrians. Whatever else happens in the Middle East, you guys end up getting the brunt of the refugees. We wouldn't like. This guy wouldn't even be here.
Wasn't he?
Yeah. Here's Elon. The atheist angle was a scam to avoid extradition. Elon is retweeting the genius Ian Miles Chong, and also trans, just like Pariah the Doll. Read this thread. The Magdeburg attacker was a fugitive from Saudi Arabia who was wanted for rape, who reinvented himself as an atheist activist in order to secure full asylum from Germany. Now, the proof of that, I don't really know. But he's apparently, very talented doctor /
Who's the top reply there to Chung?
Oh, Dr. Eoin Lenihan.
Yeah, that guy, he's an Irish, like, kosher conservative. He's been, like, spurging out about me for, like, a week. I corrected him on something, and he's been having this, like, soy sneer meltdown about how, like, I'm a Nazi, and we need to, like, hide our beliefs and not be nationalists and, like, just be, like, conservatives and squeeze in a bit of immigration restriction. I saw he was freaking out as well, saying this is a Muslim thing. Basically using it as a way to attack me because he's been seething about me for a week. But yeah, I mean, just look at these people. I mean, look at a picture of Chong and then look at a picture of Dr. Owen Lenihan. I mean, it's
swagged out. Honestly, though, swag. Not gonna
lie,
that's
his
swag.
Picture.
That wasn't a good argument for you. That guy gets swag. He looks swag.
Yeah, that's a great picture, honestly.
Yeah, he refuted you. Retroactively refuted by his profile picture. That guy looks like kind of he doesn't look horrible, but he doesn't look too good. I'll say that. I don't want to be too offensive.
Yeah.
I don't be rude.
He's been, I mean, from what I can see, he's been the last day like spurging out about like, no, we have to say this is a Muslim, and like getting really upset that people pointed out he was like pro-Israel. So yeah, it's very odd. It's very weird. Yeah, but that guy Owen Lenihan, by the way, wrote for an Israeli publication, like a pro-Israel thing about how some kind of boycott or something in Europe was anti-Semitic. So like, yeah, all these people, Chong worked for Human Events and worked for a Jew. What was his name? Will, what was his name?
Will Summers?
No. Guy Nick debated years back.
Oh. Will Stansel?
Someone in chat will know. No, it's a different guy. Someone in chat will know.
Ching Chong?
Oh, we're waiting.
No.
Will, what's his name? He's still
Will
Chamberlain, that's
yes,
it.
Yes.
Yeah, but apparently he was running Chong's account for a while. I remember after October 7, Chong was writing all these like detailed like Hasbara talking points. So it's like, yeah, a lot of these people do just literally work for Israel or work for Jews, or like it's literally Jews running their account,
Yeah. And here's this. It's like Martin Sellner. These are the quotes of the terrorists. The lying press wants to frame him as a right winger, a little based thing. The lying press wants to frame him as a right winger, and then this is just like, if Germany wants to be, anti-Arab or anti-Saudi Arabians, we're gonna kill them. Blah blah blah. the revenge will come. Germany will pay the price, and all this stuff is about like they're not taking in refugees away from Islam. And then you have this quote tweet, it's like just another Muslim terrorist. Like there's no, this is where the disconnect is. Like there's no reference to Islam in any of this.
Yeah, Martin Sellner, I saw those quotes he posted. Yeah, it's the opposite. It's showing that he wasn't motivated by Islam, that it was just like a left-wing.
Yeah, he was just mad that they weren't taking in Arabs that don't like Islam. Which is it's just such an odd thing to lie about. But once again, when you realize these people are not honest and these people are not really, they're not really, their money is not coming from anything that we see. Their money is coming from somewhere that we don't really know. And so this guy right here, he ran a forum, and the forum never made money. He's kind of a loser. He's kind of like a salesman. He travels around. And he started a Substack, shut down the forum because he wanted to start the Substack and wanted to be like respectable. He got an interview with Mark Andreessen, the guy who's kind of connected to the Thiel money, and Andreessen Horowitz, which is a lot of startups. Did an interview with Moldbug. So basically he has these weird connections. He doesn't make money. Nobody really likes him. And he's getting money from somewhere. And so that kind of then makes you think, oh, well, he's probably getting paid to be following some party line. Like a lot of these people, they sold out because they're kind of losers. And they just ended up, these like weird, we just have this, it's like kind of like Neocon 2.0 people that are now, they're trying to do like propaganda for Israel or Jewish people or the power structure. Something that we haven't really talked about, which is kind of relevant, is something called the Smith-Mundt Act. And I forget, it was like during Obama's years, they repealed it. And basically it was this basically Americans, or the American government, wasn't allowed to directly propagandize itself or the people in America. And so basically there was restrictions on the CIA, the FBI, NSA, whatever, government organization. You couldn't really pay people directly. It would still happen, but you couldn't pay people directly to basically put out lies and propagandize Americans. If you're an American, the American country, the government. But now they repealed it during Obama's years, and I think that's what's going on here. I think there's some actual just explicit propaganda being put out now, post Obama, that's really kind of taken into effect, especially with Twitter and Elon Musk, that is starting to target the right wing. And I think that's what you see with all this idiocy. It doesn't really feel organic. It feels stupid. Like, why would you, what is the point? What is the white person organic reason to insist this is a Muslim? If you're going to be a based racist, like an epic based, deranged racist, like it's epic to be like, oh, it doesn't matter, Muslim or not, they're going to blow up. They're going to crash cars into white people. They're going to kill kids. It doesn't matter if they're Muslim or not. You can't have, Arabs. So it really, there's no angle where this makes actual like organic sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's blackpilling in a way, because there are a lot of people on our side that are just so dumb that like they see like the Jew flag account pop up and they're like, hey, conservative, doesn't the media lie a lot? Maybe they're lying. Maybe he was a member of ISIS. And then people just kind of go with that. Like even right now in the chat,
He's like, why? What is the benefit? What is even like
111 says, you're right, but why are we running cover for Muslims? Like again, like all we're saying is like this guy wasn't a Muslim, but he's a non-white, and
there's evidence he was an Arab who was like mentally ill, who also was mentally ill about Islam. Like you don't have to like Islam to. It'd be like if somebody who's like in a gang. It'd be like if a black person like left a gang and then like shot up like a bunch of people, and then people were like, he is secretly a gang member still, and then you're like, well, I don't really see that. He kind of left the gang, and he's now like he's been doing like outreach about why he hates gangs. Now he's shooting people still. This kind of is indicative of black people spurging out and shooting people. And then you're like, well, why are you defending gangs? It's like, I'm not defending gangs. There's no reason to suspect this person was still in a gang. There's absolutely no reason, to. It's bizarre. It's a very bizarre sort of. I think it's an IQ thing, honestly. It's an IQ thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, even looking at like some of the people in the chat, like it is just an IQ thing where it's like they hear someone saying, like, no, it's not an Islamic terrorist attack, and like in their mind, they're like, why are they defending Islam? It's like, I don't know. It's hard to relate to, but this is kind of what the right is. It's like this is why it's very easy to co-opt as well. Like you just kind of give algorithmic privileges to like Visegrad 24 and Eli David, and then you have like a mass of riotoids that are like low IQ, and you just kind of dangle the you just kind of dangle like the kosher bait in front of them and say, this is like early 2000s counter-jihad, and they just eat it up, you know?
Yeah, it's like what is the angle? So we are not. What is like from their perspective? If we're to believe this is a big act, this is a big trick. Like, how does this help Islam? So are they saying like what he wants us to believe is that we're pro-Islam? Like we should be pro-Islam now because he's anti-Islam? Like there's no cause and effect where us believing what he said leads to us being like, oh yeah, and this is why we want more Islamic immigrants, because this guy who ran people over with a car was anti-Islam. So therefore, since I've been tricked, since I believe the taqiyya, I now advocate for more Muslims to come into Europe. There's no like logical way in which this is even taqiyya.
Yeah, no, because like I said, when it happened, all of the nationalists, like the Sellner types, were like, yeah, he shouldn't have been in Germany. These people shouldn't be in Germany. And then it came out he's not a Muslim, and it's like, okay, well, he shouldn't have been in Germany. These people shouldn't have been in Germany. And then you have these guys who are like, yeah, no, you're being tricked. That's the wrong narrative. You have to like focus on his religious beliefs, and you have to insist that he had these religious beliefs regardless. It is like, there is literally no reason to go with that narrative unless you're just trying to spin like a pro-Israel thing. There we go.
This is before the glow up. He blew up hard though. This is his recent one though.
I love that when he replies and he's like, hey, why are you posting that old picture of me?
Yeah, post my glow
where I
up.
look really good, and he posts that.
It's a swag though. Honestly, the leather jacket swag goes hard. Do you have any leather jackets?
I don't know.
You need to get some. This is a good look. Yeah, no, it's a very odd situation. Handsome beast. The chat is swooning. But yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like I've been a lot more skeptical. I've been a lot more skeptical. Looking at his glasses, I've been a lot more skeptical of Elon Musk than most people. A lot more of a hater, maybe just because I'm nasty. The Polish in me is nasty, cutting crabs in a bucket. But it is very weird. You think about why is Elon Musk? He chooses who he interacts with. Like Elon Musk is very conscious of that. And he's choosing to interact with Ian Miles Chong a lot. Like that's not organic. That's not really an organic.
But some other
thing.
accounts as well. There's a lot of sus stuff going on lately. Like there's a few of these like generic kind of pro-West accounts, like that'll have like a Greek statue and like American eagle. It's like Greek statue plus George Washington avatar. And then it's like, pro-Trump, pro-Bitcoin, and pro-Western values, and if it'll post all the anti-immigration stuff, but then it'll like slip in a bit of pro-Israel stuff in there as well. There's always that poison pill. And those accounts were going hard on like, this is the Quran's fault. But you see Elon retweet a lot of those accounts, and they're quite new as well. Like I saw there was one that was only like a week old, and he's like reposted its anti-immigration stuff. And it's like, where has he found that account? Like, who's behind that account? Who sent it to him and said, hey, this is an account to promote? Like an account that's a week old and suddenly it's getting reposted all the time by Elon.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It doesn't make any sense. It's not organic. Once again, it is very important to stress. It's like Elon Musk has the highest security clearance you can have as like a citizen because he launches rockets. I think is Keith out of here? Or is my internet gone? Is Keith out of here or is my internet out of here? What's up? Am I the only person left? Can you guys still... Oh, Keith is gone. All right, so it's just us. Anyway, back to Solbra hanging out at the child's playground with his shirt off. It's very sus, very interesting that Solbra's idea of a meetup, of a hangout, is to have a lot of men with their shirts off. And those men then hang from the monkey bars at the child's playground. It doesn't seem appropriate to me. It doesn't seem right to me. Now, maybe they do things differently in Europe, but in America, we don't agree with that. We don't think that men should be hanging out with their shirts off at the playground. We think it's wrong. Anyway, entropystream.live/Keith Woods, Paul Chad running the show. Can I change it to solo? No, I can't. I'm only now we're talking. Okay, we're back. Anyway, yeah. What are you guys doing for Christmas? What are you guys doing for Christmas? Lonely Town. It's very masculine. Paul Chad running the show. If you had bros to hang out with your shirts off, you'd love it. That's true. Keith Sold. What are we talking about here? Yeah, Christmas is coming. I'm going to give you guys some advice. Buy Chainlink. This is legal and financial advice. Chainlink is the future. Chainlink is the future of money. It's the future of the economy. Chainlink, the oracles are going to do oracle stuff. You're going to get rich. You buy Chainlink, it's a guarantee. It's a Woodstown guarantee. Unlimited money, as much money as you want. Thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, euros, even euros. But yeah, I just sure hope nobody shoots Beardson Beardley. There's a list. I have a list of people I hope don't get shot. And on the top of it is Beardson Beardley, Gavin McInnes, Oliver Anthony, Martin from Twitter. Who else? Who else do I hope doesn't get murdered by an insane person over the next year? Beardson, Wurzelroot. I hope Wurzelroot doesn't get shot in the head. Veda. I hope Veda doesn't get shot, murdered in cold blood, just gunned down by an insane person. I really hope that doesn't happen. But I really hope, there's a lot of different people I hope don't get murdered. I really hope there's a lot of people who don't get murdered. Let me see. I think Keith is back. I hear a click. I heard a click. I heard another click.
Hey, what's going on? I'm
He's
on the
back.
right side now.
You're on the right side of history.
I know what happened there. That was weird because I could see the chat. I could turn on the stream, but in the studio, nothing was happening.
They've only gotten a few $100 million of investment. It's still they're working out the kinks.
Yeah, it was as soon as I started exposing all of the fake nationalist accounts on X.
It's true. Yeah, it makes you think. Ian Miles Sean got made fun of. Stream goes down. Rumble. There's certain people.
I think
on
I was
Rumble
pointed out they were all promoting a Jewish guy in the UK. He's like this new TikToker that talks about immigration and stuff, and he's pro-reform. But yeah, it came out he was Jewish, and he was he'd some kind of connection to someone that's really high up in reform, and also someone within Sky News. He's a total astroturfed guy. But yeah, all these accounts were promoting him. They're totally just recreating. It's let's have way of the world, but pro-Jewish, and let's have Nick Fuentes, but pro-Jewish, and let's have whoever the big person is at the UK, but pro-Jewish. They're totally just building it from scratch, and then get Elon to repost it, crush everyone else in the algorithm. It's actually very transparent if you've kind of been around these circles.
Yeah, especially if you've been around for a while. It's like what happened with you on YouTube. It's you're gone. They'll let other people stay up. They'll let John Doyle stay up. They'll ban people. They did it in 2016. They're doing it again now. They did it on Twitter. Before Elon Musk came back, it's Nick was gone. Everyone would get banned. There was it was very conspicuous. Certain groups never got banned. Certain accounts never got banned, but other people, everybody else would get banned. And it's the very weird, very conspicuous. That's even the problem with the For You page and the recommendation and the algorithms is they can push buttons, and it's now that it's not chronological, all of a sudden certain people posts just go viral. Even honestly, I got gifted the blue check mark, and I 100% have seen the difference where my posts just go way more viral with the blue check mark. It seems inorganic to me. It's insane. It's pay to win, but you can pay to win to some extent, and then the rest is literally, well, we're going to quote tweet this person. I'm going to quote tweet Ian Miles Chong, and that sort of stuff. And very weird stuff going on. It doesn't matter. I think in the long term, I think the truth wins. I think you can't stop nature. I'm kind of I kind of believe in the Platonic, ideals in that sense. But yeah, it is very odd in the short term.
Well, I hope you're right, but it's not super promising when you see all the people on our side falling for the counter-jihad narrative for the 10 millionth time.
That's true, but I think it's almost like a selection pressure thing where in the short term it's unpleasant, but over time you start to get people who are not morons, and it's, you kind of weed out the morons, and it might take hundreds of years, it might take decades, but eventually you end up with people who are actually just superior, and the selection pressures have been so harsh that as long as they don't go extinct, whatever survives is actually a step above the people who get the lack of selection pressures, the people who get inorganically boosted and that sort of stuff. It just breeds a superior type of mind.